Hey y'all, what's going on YouTube family? It's Andrea here at VW Family Farm, and today I want to give y'all a little garden update. We're back from Baker Creek. We're checking everything out. We kind of took a day off yesterday. We're going around checking all the plants, all the animals, all that. So I want to show y'all we got a lot of things growing and blooming. So let's start in here in the greenhouse and show you the plant starts we've still got in here, and then we'll head out to the garden. So let's go. So we've got a lot of plant starts still here in the greenhouse, which I'm glad about because I'm going to show you outside in a minute why. But I've got all kinds of tomatoes. I got German pinks. I've got a ton of Amish paste, which I'm excited about because I am going to be doing a lot of paste and sauce. I'm going to show you some tomatoes in a minute that Sarah and Kevin at Living Traditions brought to us, which I'm super excited about. They're a sauce tomato as well. We got all kinds of pepper starts that we talked with Jer about at Baker Creek when we were up there like a month ago. We've got things like nata pino, habanada, poblano. Of course, there are play on words. Nata pino is supposed to be a jalapeno that's not hot, and the same with habanada. It's a habanero that's not hot. So we're really excited about those. These have grown like crazy. They need to go in the ground. They're big and beautiful.
They was like this size right here on my finger when we got them.
Yeah, they're outrageous. We've got to get these in the ground. But the reason we're doing this, and I'm talking 90 miles an hour, we're trying to get this garden tour done, it's because we're about to have another flood. They're calling for what, like 7 inches of rain? 4 to 7? I don't know.
4 here, 7 south.
7 south of us in South Arkansas. It's crazy. And we're already flooded and waterlogged. Of course, we're on a mountain, so we're okay, but my tomatoes outside are suffering because they're just overwatered. But let's look over here and then I'll take you out there. All right, these are all kinds of herbs down here that I bought at Baker Creek. These are the beautiful tomatoes from Kevin and Sarah. I've got a patchouli plant down in this pot that I bought. I'm really excited about. I don't actually know what to do with patchouli, but I love the smell of the essential oil, so I don't know. I'm gonna maybe dry it and just use it for the scent. So if you know what to actually do with it, let me know. And these herbs, I'll show y'all when I plant them exactly what they are, but they're things like comfrey and chamomile and mullein and all kinds of stuff. Emily bought her a little cactus and a little succulent. She loves those types of things. We got more plant starts up here. Assorted peppers. These are hotter type peppers. I'll just go ahead and tell you what this little pitiful looking thing is here. That's where Lane decided he was going to plant seeds when Ben did. And I said, don't discourage him, let him do it. Ben was like, he's probably not going to take care of it. And I said, well, let him anyway. Well, guess what? He didn't take care of it. He planted them in the wrong type of potting soil. A lot of times people are like, your kids are perfect. They're not. Sometimes they shirk their responsibilities just like any other kid. So take that to heart. We've got a chocolate bell here. It was just one.
Extra.
It was just an extra oddball. All kinds of, these are dexters. I've already planted a bunch of dexters, but we grow plant starts for some close family and friends too, so these are not all for us. All kinds of peppers. Lesson learned on these little pitiful looking peppers. When we transplanted them, we had gotten all the free or reduced price bags that I'd showed y'all from Walmart. And if you haven't checked that out, check that video out because that's a really good way to save money on soil and potting soil and stuff. But we transplanted some of them into garden soil and some into potting soil. Never do that. Garden soil is not for transplanting in your 6-packs. They suffered, they turned yellow, they were about to die. So we transplanted them again into potting soil and they're perking back up. They're putting on dark green leaves again, so I think they're gonna be okay. Lesson learned. These are all kinds like Amos, Coli, Ox Hearts, Abu Rawan, St. Pierre's, all kinds of Baker Creek seeds. That's pretty much where everything's from that we're growing this year is Baker Creek. So let's head outside and look at the garden. All right, so this is our big front garden. In the past, when we've been reviewing what we're gonna do with the garden this year, we told you about 3 different gardens we're planting. We wound up reducing that to 2. The third one over there, which is by the bees, is planted in buckwheat, wildflowers, zinnias, sunflowers, all kinds of stuff for the bees. It's a huge area, so it'll give the bees something to feed on. I just didn't need all that space this year because I surveyed my canned goods inside and I have tons of stuff still stored. Last year I didn't even get to can, so we're still eating on, we could probably make it 3 years on what I had canned. So I'm trying to take that into account. Can some, but not just spend all day every day of my summer canning when we don't need it, and I'm still gonna have multiple years stored up. So I'm not gonna take you down these 2 rows, but right behind me is our Yukon Gold potatoes. They're doing awesome. I actually just hoed them and worked the rows to loosen up the soil 5 days ago, and grass has already come back in. But we're actually gonna buy a couple bales of straw and cover them in straw, try to choke down some of the grass, and just, potatoes like to be covered. So keep putting stuff on them, straw, dirt, something. So anyway, that's the rows of potatoes. They're doing good. We've got all different stages of potatoes in these rows because of, I've told y'all before, I planted some that weren't sprouted as good as the others. So, but they're okay, it's gonna be fine. And then I've got my early row, so let's walk down it and kind of look at it. All right, I've got 2 different varieties of sugar snaps on this trellis. It's not an arch trellis, it's just a cattle panel on T-posts. This is what we've done for several years for climbing things like cucumbers and all that, because you can pick them without bending over. When arching them is beautiful and there's a place for that, but if you're wanting a lot of area like this, if you don't arch them and you just put your cattle panels long ways, you can plant a lot more vegetables for them to climb up. So that's what I've done here. I cannot keep these names straight. Sugar magnolia tendril peas, I think, is one. There's 2 different varieties of magnolia tendril peas, I'll just say that, from Baker Creek. One blooms this beautiful white flower. One blooms this beautiful pink and purple flower. And then also, sugar snaps are not going to last that long in Arkansas because it's getting hot and they don't like hot weather. So I planted all kinds of climbing beans on this side, like the noodle beans, the python beans. The only ones sprouted so far are the noodle beans, so those are the ones that get super long. I've also got beets and radishes up front. It's a little grassy. That's just life. So now we're on the long row that we covered in ground cover, and these are the peppers. They're actually looking fairly decent. These are all kinds of peppers. And then here's the tomatoes we planted. They're looking okay, but as I go up the row, they start looking more and more pitiful. So as you can tell, some of the tomatoes don't look so great, but I think it's due to all the rain. I think they're just over watered, and we're about to get more rain. So that's why I was saying I'm glad to have those in the greenhouse, because I'm gonna have some that are really strong and still really healthy after all this rain passes that I can plant. Because Arkansas weather, or just weather in the South in general, it's gonna rain for a while and then it's just gonna shut off one day. So this spring rain, just day after day of flooding rains, won't last forever. Okay, you can see the effects of the flooding rains on the rest of the rows. They just need a good working over, which I could get out and do today, except storms are coming like in the next hour or so. So I'm just gonna have to ride it out and let it be until the storms pass, and then I can get out here and work the ground. But I've got all kinds of beans sprouting out here. This row right here is a climbing bean that we got from Baker Creek, and actually we sent some out to some of y'all when we sent out the free seeds. So if you got pole beans, this is them. So this next row is Romas, because I really like Romas for green beans. The Romas are coming up all down through here. Okay, this next row is a row of experimental beans we're doing from Baker Creek. This first section is called a Borlato. It's a shell bean, and I'm going to show you some of them are coming up pretty good. And then we got dragon tongue, and you can see on this little sprout the color of the bean. It's a really cool color. I'm excited about those. These are all bush beans, and if you're not familiar, just by bush beans I mean they're gonna grow in a bush. They're not gonna need a trellis to grow up. This next section is called Purple Dove. I don't know if you can see the bean on that sprout, but it's a pretty color too. And this last section is called Red Swan. There's not as many of them up, but there's a few. Okay, this next row is just a row of early stuff. I didn't think my early stuff was doing so great at the beginning, so I planted some more. It's just all kinds of beets, radishes, Mizuna, and then also, as I walk back up this road, the row beside it, these are all kinds of onions been sprouted from Baker Creek seed. I'm excited about them. I literally just hoed around all of these Friday, but this little grass comes back so quick. But I actually bought some organic fertilizer and put on these. And you can actually get organic fertilizer at Lowe's now. It wasn't too expensive, and I can see that they have shot up. Okay, I've got this whole section all up through here of different types of greens, early greens. I've got purple bok choy. This is my patch of Mizuna. It's called Summer Mizuna, and then I've also got purple Mizuna. And finally, a few kohlrabi. So that's what's growing out front. Let's head to the back garden. All right, we're out here at the back garden, and this is the garden we covered in the ground cover. We're giving that a try this year. As you can see, it's working great. There's no weeding, no tilling, nothing like that. So I'm really liking that part. I think I'm really gonna like this. The only thing back here is the same thing that's going on out front. Too much water. So some of these, their leaves are turning yellow, but also sometimes when you transplant something, just the shock of it, from what I've observed from my experience, the original leaves that were on the little plant start will start to turn yellow, but it'll put up something really healthy and green in the middle, and that's what some of these are doing. They're green, they're yellow from what was originally there, but they're putting out new growth that's really green and dark and really healthy looking. So let's walk down through here. We're growing several different types of cucumbers because we enjoy cucumbers. These are mini white cucumbers. We've got the Muncher, and I think we've got a Tokyo, which is more of an English cucumber, long and slender, with less seeds and not supposed to be bitter. They're doing okay. What I'm telling myself is just, if these don't do well, I can always put more seeds in the ground. I'm not on a time crunch. You can grow these things all summer long here, and we have a long growing season. So there is nothing I can do about the rain, so I'm not gonna fret over it. This row here is all kinds, both of these next two rows are all kinds of different squashes. This is lemon squash. That's by far our favorite bush squash type plant. they're doing actually pretty good. And then we planted just some good old straight neck squash, which that's also a bush plant. So one reason we told y'all that we were putting this down was to try to choke out the nut grass that we have, because it's crazy. It's growing through this already. Isn't that crazy? Next is a golden zucchini. We also get that from Baker Creek. We love those. They're a zucchini, but they're a really beautiful color. This is called a squash pumpkin, so we're giving that a try. So this last part on this row is a type called Candy Roaster that Ben wanted to try. So they're doing pretty good. A lot of these varieties back here are things that either bush out and are hard to work around, hard to hoe or till around, or they vine and you cannot keep the grass out and it becomes a jungle and they're trying to find your fruit and vegetables. So that's the main reason we're giving this a try. This next row is the same types of things. We've got Amish pie pumpkins, honeydew melons. It's actually called a honeymoon melon from Baker Creek, but it's a honeydew variety. Cantaloupe. We've got several varieties of watermelons, a Congo watermelon, a mountain sweet yellow watermelon. Ben loves the yellow bellies, and the Mississippi Cobb Gem watermelon. We had really good success with that last year. They grew to like 70 pounds. And then I think the rest of these are different types of spaghetti squash. We really love spaghetti squash for low carb eating, so that's what the rest of these are. And this is what I was telling you about. These would have been its original leaves when we planted this. They're kind of pitiful looking, but it's put on this pretty new growth. That shows hope that it's gonna make it. And then over here, we won't walk all up and down it because some of them have washed out and stuff, but it's all kinds of sweet potato slips we rooted, and I've got a whole bunch more rooted, ready to plant. So this is our strawberry bed that we planted. It's looking awesome. It's actually putting on some little berries. It's growing like crazy. I hope to get a little mess of strawberries off of it. Maybe this year, hopefully for sure a good harvest next year. So we'll see. This weed fabric has definitely cut down on the grass. As you can see, grass will still find a way through, even just the holes that you plant in, but it sure does cut down on it. And you can see this beautiful garlic here. It's doing amazing. So we don't know yet. These little yellower looking ones are the ones Ben just planted that he got out of the ditch. We've done it before and it works, but again, when you jerk something up and transplant it, you kind of shock it. But when you start to see this, that's a good sign. It's worked before, so I think it'll work again. It's just, garlic doesn't like to be planted in the spring or middle of summer. It really likes to be planted in late fall and harvested in the spring. So I want to show y'all one more thing. So as you can see, this is the strawberry aquaponics system Ben set up. This little section right here is doing amazing, but this is just me telling you the truth. I want you to look at the rest of it. It's empty. Some of these are starting to put back on a little sprout, but here's what happened. All this storming we've had, our power went out one day, and so one night, all night, there was no water flowing through this, and these little roots got dry as a bone, and a lot of them died. So these that were right up here at the front still had water there that didn't flow all the way through, but the rest of them didn't. So you can see what this system will do. It's got tons of berries on it, more than the ones in the ground. They are growing like crazy. They're way bigger than the ones in the ground, but you have to have a backup plan for if your power goes out, or it needs to be on your to-do list to just check every day. It takes 5 seconds to make sure, yep, it's still on, something like that, because they will die if the power goes out. Or maybe someone suggested, or several people did actually, a solar pump. Solar power to run your pump. That's a great idea. That would solve the whole problem. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me and checking out the garden. I want to show you this year, just as the garden progresses and the things we get off of it, and share with you some of the varieties we're growing in case you might want to try them. So I will see you guys tomorrow, and God bless.